Motorola has a whole lot of budget smartphones, and with the Motorola G84 we get another one. So today we will check out all of the specs and features and see how good the cameras actually are, but first up let's see what we get inside the box. So what we get in that brown plastic-free paper box is the Moto G84 5G smartphone. Further down we will get the charging brick with 33 watts, which we rarely get with smartphones anymore. Of course, there is a matching cable with a USB Type A to USB Type C connection, and that seems to be about it, so let's get over to the camera test. As you can see there, it's a dual lens camera setup. We got one 50 megapixel main camera that also has optical image stabilization, and the second one is an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle shooter. So you get your usual Motorola standard camera apps on here, like the portrait mode with different background blur options. You have plenty of other bonus modes on here, including a pro mode, and if we click on more, we will find stuff like a night vision, the ultra resolution shot, dual capture, and a few more. So I took a few pictures with the 50 megapixel main camera with the optical image stabilization and some with the 8 megapixel ultra wide. And I gotta say that the pictures came out alright. The colors on the pictures look just fine. There is some good detail that you can see, and of course in the nighttime you can use the night mode to get some better pictures out of this phone. As for the 16 megapixel front camera, the pictures doesn't look as punchy and as vivid as the ones that you get on the back camera, but still good enough to share some quick moments with your friends during some activities. This one also has a portrait mode with different background blur options, and if you want to take some videos, this one tops off at full HD resolution with 30 frames per second. So not a good video camera in my opinion, but that's how it looks like. Alright, so there goes the selfie test, and as I just told you, this thing can only record in 1080p with 30 frames per second, no 60 frames per second. That only works with the main camera, but it looks alright though. The main camera tops off at 1080p with a maximum of 60 frames per second that you can also trim down to 30 frames. There's also no 4K available on this phone, not with the front and not with the back camera, but it's definitely good enough for some quick shots during the day and to keep some of the memories. Now that we got the cameras out of the way, let's take a look at the design and some of the specs. The Moto G84 is definitely one of the best looking phones that you can get at that price point. Looking at it from the front, you see that the bezels all around are rather slim and doesn't take away as much from the actual display. We have a rather flat top with flat sides on the frame and rounder corners. It's also not very heavy with just 166 grams and sits comfortably in my hands. A lot of the action happens on the backside of the phone. The two camera lenses do stick out a little bit, but not very much, and we get that nice matte finish right here on which you barely see your fingerprints. Now this one is also available in the colors Vivo Magenta and Marshmallow Blue, but these two phones have a vegan leather back that has a very soft touch to it. And the Moto G84 is also IP54 splash resistant, so it can get a little bit wet without any damage. Next we got the display and the audio. So right here we get a 6.5 inch OLED display with full HD plus resolution. If you want to watch some videos on those phones or stuff from Crunchyroll and Netflix, it has the perfect size, and the colors look great too, with great contrast, and just the tiny selfie camera can get a little bit in the way. Also in combination with the 120Hz display, everything looks and feels very smooth on this phone. Of course you can trim this down to just 60Hz or let it automatically bounce between 60 and 120. As for the brightness, it lights up with a peak of 1300 nits, which is definitely bright enough for some movie time on a sunshiny day, and also the viewing angle stays sharp and doesn't change when I tilt the phone. So the Moto G84 also supports a set of stereo speakers, which really get loud if I turn the volume all the way up. But let me give you a quick example. Both have mini health and activity tracking features and lots of smart features, but which one is actually better? First, I have to say that the Galaxy Watch 6. You can also tweak the sound a little bit with the help of Dolby Atmos. Right here you will find a few presets, but you can also customize the sound settings yourself and even play around with the equalizer a little bit. And yes, on the bottom of the phone we will get a headphone jack so we can plug in our non-Bluetooth headphones. The battery life is one of the highlights on this phone. In the Moto G84 you will find a big 5000 mAh battery, which you will also find in basically all the other Motorola phones, but rarely in another smartphone. And in combination with the energy efficient Snapdragon 695 5G, this phone can last through the whole weekend with music and video streaming, gaming, and all of the other things that you do with your smartphone. Of course, if you are hammering this phone, this will drop down a little bit. The downside is the charging speed. You only get a 33 watts charging brick, and like this it takes a long time until you're back to full. Best just charge it during the night. When it comes to the software and the features, you basically know what you get with Motorola. On this bugger, you get a stock version of Android 13, which does get an upgrade to Android 14, but that's about it. You will get no further updates on this smartphone. At least we get 3 years of security updates. As for the features, you get quite a lot of junk apps pre-installed on this phone like Booking.com, games like Monopoly, and others, but at least you can quickly get rid of them with a single tap. The next feature is Ready For. This one allows you to quickly pair up your phone with nearby devices like your computer or your tablet, and then use the phone as a webcam. You can share files, create a hotspot, and a lot of other small things. You also get the Moto app. Over here you can do many things. First up, you can fully customize the looks of your display. You can change the icon shapes, text sizes, font style, and themes. You get quite a few gesture controls like a quick launch feature. You can get a sidebar with some of your favorite apps, quick capture photos, fast torch, and 3-finger screenshots. On the Moto app, you will also find Moto Secure and a gaming mode. This one is perfectly for your gamers out there, but more to that in a bit. On the Moto G84, we of course get a fingerprint sensor, and I would say this one works actually just fine. So there we have it. And if your fingers are too wet or too sweaty, you can still make use of the face detection, and that always works. As for the storage, you get 256 gigs, which is quite a bit, and about 11 gigs are already used up by the system, which isn't too much in my experience. The great thing is if that storage isn't enough for you, you can also expand this one with an extra micro SD card. Alright, now over to the gaming and the performance. The Moto G84 5G is powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 695 chipset, which you will also find in many other budget smartphones. In your daily experience, you won't find any issues. Everything runs smoothly on here. You can swipe up and down, check out the news, and open up apps without delay. The other part is gaming on this phone. So I tried a few games like Asphalt 9 and Genshin Impact, and it definitely did a better job on Asphalt 9, but over on Genshin Impact, you have to lower the quality and you have to expect some stuttering every once in a while. But it's definitely good enough for most games. It doesn't even get super hot if you play for quite a while, plus the flat display is super responsive. Now we get to the game booster. You can either already do some pre-settings in your Moto app, but you can also drag out the sidebar with lots of small features like enabling the D&D mode. You can block calls during your game sessions, screen record, and put it in a high performance mode. And guys, there we have it. That's the Moto G84 5G smartphone. Now I also covered many other budget smartphones on this channel, including lots of Motorola phones. Just click right here to get right to it. And I guess with that one being said, I will see you in the next one. Peace.